Sean, and I'm sorry I don't know his last name. Wasn't quick enough to write it down, at 810 Homedale Road, and I assured him that
Sean Becker.
Okay, that I was going to not only give him my card so he could get in touch with me, but the rabbi's cell phone number and introduce them. And then obviously the rabbi wants to be a good neighbor. If once it's built the landscaping is inadequate, I can assure you that we'll work with them to put up whatever fence or whatever else is necessary. As the rabbi indicated at the first hearing, he wants to be part of the community. He doesn't want to be against the community. He's looking to bring everybody together, and we intend to follow through with that. So I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
So my next witness is John Ray. He was sworn, but he did not testify before, so I'll take a moment to qualify him as an expert in traffic engineering, and then he'll talk about his report that he submitted, his original report, and then in response to the review letters.
Good evening. My name is John Ray, R-E-A. I am a professional engineer and a principal with McDonough and Ray Associates. We are traffic and transportation engineers located at 1431 Lakewood Road in Manasquan, New Jersey. We also have a northern New Jersey office in downtown Westfield, New Jersey.
You've been a licensed engineer for how long, John?
Since 1985.
Okay,
in New Jersey and 1979 in New York.
Okay, and you've been accepted as an expert in traffic engineering before planning boards, zoning boards, courts, etc.
And Superior Court. I've testified before this board. Recently, I've testified in front of the zoning board here in Holmdel, but the bottom line is I have a total of 50 years experience in the traffic engineering field, the last 40 of which have been doing consulting work here in the state of New Jersey. And I have an undergraduate degree in civil engineering from NJIT and a master's in transportation engineering from NYU.
We'd submit him as an expert, Mr. Chair, unless there's an objection.
No objection.
Thank you.
So, John, you submitted two traffic reports. There was the initial one, and then in response to the comments from the board as well as the professionals, a supplemental report which was submitted subsequent to that.
Correct.
So, rather than go over them individually, if you could summarize what you studied, what you found, and what criteria you were basing it on to establish that the site circulation and the ingress and egress into our site, which are the metrics for permitted uses, whether or not those are safe. And then we'll talk about parking as well as the county application for the roadway.
Sure. So in order to do the traffic impact analysis, the steps that we take for usually any traffic impact analysis are generally things that are done in order. First and foremost, we go out, we do a site inspection of the adjacent roadway network. We want to make an initial observation of whether there are any sight distance issues, curves in the road, things of that nature that might inhibit the possibility of us getting an access to the roadway. So the first thing is we go out, we do a site inspection. Second thing we do is we collect traffic volume data. And in this case, because we did a supplemental report, and the county has also asked us for some supplemental data, we have collected traffic counts in 2023, 2024, and 2025 because of the review letters and the county review as well. So we have a host of traffic volume counts and data along Holmdel Road.
And additionally, John, in response to some questions from the board at the last meeting with regard to site distances based on the topography of Holmdel Road, we also did some additional surveying and some site distance analysis as well to confirm the safety of our driveway. So in addition to all of that, there was also some pretty detailed surveying relative to the roadway to ensure safe.
Yes, and that was done and presented by Mr. Comey's office, and I reviewed that information. The long and short of it is Monmouth County has requested that we provide site triangles at the site driveway to Holmdel Road, and we have to provide 445 feet of site distance in each direction along Holmdel Road, and we have that.
Okay, so we meet with the, and the reason why it's a county, this is a county road, so ultimately they have jurisdiction over our driveway access onto the county road, and no matter what this planning board may do, even if the planning board approves it, they could deny it because they have jurisdiction over the traffic on the roadway. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so what you're saying is we can meet the county's requirements as it relates to site distance, which necessarily ensures that the driveway would be safe for vehicles entering and exiting?
Yes, I can confirm that the site distance will be adequate for safe entry and exit from and to Holmdel Road.
Okay, and as it relates to traffic, as you sat in the last meeting in December, and there were some questions to Andy and some questions posed to the board about some existing traffic concerns along Homedale Road and the intersection with Crawford's Corner, as well as what the traffic from this project will add to it.
Correct.
In your experience as a traffic engineer for 50 years in New Jersey, while you looked at the existing traffic, is that something that this board considers with a permitted use?
Well, you can certainly look at the site driveway, the safety and efficiency of the site driveway. It's my understanding, and Ms. Krumko knows better than I, that off-site traffic is not something that can be considered if you're a permitted use and you're not requiring any variances for the use, which is the case with this application.
Okay, but that notwithstanding, the county can look at traffic impact.
And the county can
And does, and for example, they could require roadway improvements, they could require intersection improvements, they could require a whole host of things by adding traffic to their roadway, is that correct?
Correct, and just south of us is the intersection of Crawford's Corner Road and Homedale Road, which during peak hours, certain movements experience some delay. The county is aware of that. The county has not asked us to study that intersection, or based on the impact that we're going to have on that intersection, which is under county jurisdiction. I did informally speak to them to ask them if they had any plans to do anything at the intersection in terms of signalization, widening, anything. And as of this moment, the answer I got from the county traffic engineer was, no, we don't have any plans at this point in time. And basically, as a part of the county review, they haven't asked us to study the intersection. They're well aware of the conditions out there.
Okay, but ultimately, the traffic on the roadway and the intersections is really within their purview.
Yes.
Okay, but as it relates to, and because the question was asked, you study ITE, the Institute of Traffic Engineers, and that establishes the anticipated trip volume for a use like this. And I know that that was included in your report. So just from general background for the board, what are we looking at by way of trip generation?
Okay, well, I did two things in order to do the traffic study. I looked at the statement of operations that Rabbi Gelperin had given me with respect to how he is going to operate his house of worship. And I looked at that, and based on the information that's been provided with respect to the activities that are going to take place in the synagogue, there's going to be very limited traffic generation during the traditional peak hours on Homedale Road, which are generally Monday through Friday, consistent with commuter peaks, the schools in the area, generally 7 to 10 in the morning, 3 to 6 in the afternoon.
But in English, that basically means that when the traffic is going to be the greatest for the synagogue, the roadways are going to have less traffic on them.
That is correct. But I did two things. I looked at the statement of operations, and the only real activity that's going to take place in the house of worship in the Chabad during traditional morning and afternoon peak weekday road hours are going to be administrative people entering and leaving. There will be activity in the evenings. There will be teen meetings, things of that nature that will take place after the afternoon peak hour, which typically ends around 6, 7 o'clock. So the peak hour, what I'm trying to say in a short way, is that the peak hours for the house of worship will not coincide with the peak hours on Homedale Road.
Okay, so from a traffic impact, at least as it relates to the safety of our driveway, do you see that there's going to be any negative impact?
No, there will not be. And the second thing I did, in spite of the fact that looking at the statement of operations and knowing that there would be very limited activity during roadway peak hours, as Jennifer indicated, we have a publication called the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual. And I went to the ITE, the 11th edition, which is the latest one, and I looked at how much traffic they would anticipate a synagogue of this size would generate during roadway peak hours. And since it was higher, I used that for the analysis.
Okay, and when you say they, this is a compilation of national statistics with regard to traffic generation from the entire country, and it's also broken down by use as well as regional areas.
Yes, the ITE publishes, and now there are 3 large volumes of traffic data. They publish traffic generation data for every conceivable land use. There are probably some that they still haven't gotten to. But
But it-
synagogue's one of them.
Okay, and it's a generally accepted practice to use that as a reference in addition to the traffic counts
Yes.
and operations.
The NJDOT accepts it, the Monmouth County Engineering Department accepts the ITE data. So I looked at both the statement of operations for this specific operation, and I looked at the ITE numbers, and since the ITE numbers were a little bit higher, I used them for the traffic analysis.
Okay, so your traffic analysis was the most conservative. It went above and beyond how the site's going to operate. It was based on these national figures.
And I also looked at the Saturday peak hour, which would be the peak hour for the synagogue, because the services on Saturday are when it will be busiest, when it will generate its maximum traffic impact. We also did traffic counts on Saturday to take a look at the Saturday peak hour. And what I can report to the board, and I know the board's probably heard traffic testimony before, but for the benefit of the public that may not have heard what a traffic engineer does, we qualify how well a driveway or an intersection will operate by something called levels of service. Levels of service range from A, which is the highest or best level of service, to F, which is the lowest. Generally speaking, anything operating at level of service E or better is considered to be acceptable. The levels of service are related to the delay that motorists experience at a signalized and unsignalized intersection. A being less than 10 seconds of delay at an unsignalized intersection like our driveway. Level of service F being in excess of 50 seconds of delay. And it's graduated, A, B, C, D, E, F. The bottom line is exiting traffic to Homedale Road from the synagogue during the morning peak hour, the afternoon peak hour, and the Saturday peak hour will all operate at level of service C, which is a very good level of service for central New Jersey, for Monmouth County. So the bottom line is the exiting traffic will not experience significant delay entering Homedale Road during peak hours.
And as it relates to vehicles turning into the site, that also is not going to create any traffic impediment along Homedale Road.
Actually, the left turn movement in is calculated to operate at level of service A, so it's even better.
Okay, very good. And as it relates to the on-site, and originally, in an abundance of caution, we wanted to add as many spots as we could fit within the coverage permitted. After hearing the concerns from the citizens for intelligent land use, as well as speaking to the rabbi as to the needs and the number of seats, are you comfortable that even without those seats, the 117, without those parking spaces, the 117 that we're proposing are more than adequate to address the need here?
I am comfortable. It is my understanding that and the architect will testify shortly, that the main sanctuary has 150 seats. There's also an adjoining meeting. Total of 300 between the main sanctuary and the adjacent meeting room. They will be used together only during high holidays, and that will be possibly 300 people at one car per 3 people. We'd probably need 100 parking spaces during high holidays. We have 117.
Well, not probably. According to the ordinance,
We will need 100.
We need 100 spaces.
And we have 117.
So we have 17 in excess.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Okay, Kate or Craig, you have something to ask or comment?
So ES&S did not do any additional traffic review. So we looked at the previous engineer's traffic review letter, and one of the, it seemed to be overall questions was related to the Saturday peak, which was covered by the traffic expert. So other than that, I don't have any other questions. The overflow parking, they talked about that we're comfortable with the 117 even for that 300-person event. And did you and I forgot to ask this question of the previous witness, do any truck turning? I don't recall seeing anything.
I believe Mr. Comey did.
Okay.
We did, and we did submit the truck turning.
Okay.
And that's part of the set of plans.
Okay. I'll look at that, but yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
How many seconds is Rating C.
I'll tell you 1 second. At an unsignalized intersection, I usually put that in the report. A is less than 10 seconds, B is 10 to 15 seconds, C is 15 to 25 seconds of delay.
Right, and you have an average delay in your report of
Fif-
15.3.
So it's actually just a little bit over the level of service B into C.
But that delay are those people leaving our site. That
Correct.
has no impact on the roadway.
No
traffic.
impact on Homedale Road. That's the average delay that people exiting the site during peak hours will experience.
Thank you.
I just want to just one note it from our letter. We did go through the requirement, the 1 space per 3 seats, that is for a house of worship or the conditional use standards in the township ordinance. And that also states that if there's another use on site, then that required for religious purposes. This case, the wording is a little off, but we'll say that there's also going to be the parsonage, even though that obviously is religious, and parking has to be provided, and you have provided RSIS compliance standards for that,
and
right?
Andy might have gone through it quickly, but
Yes.
yes, with the driveway and the garage, we actually exceed the RSIS required parking for the parsonage.
So the 117 spaces would not be utilized for the parsonage.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, and I just, just so the board is aware, when the 300 seats, that includes both the sanctuary, the main, which is the main room, and then it also includes the social hall. So they are including, really the peak capacity there on the site. It's not just the sanctuary, just for your awareness. So I have no further questions.
Jeff, you look eager.
Just a quick question, and I'm not sure it's for you, it might be for the engineer, but if you can answer it. For the entrance to the
Yeah, yeah.
parsonage,
Wait, just 1 second, Joyce. All right, go ahead, Joyce. Go ahead, you go first. Go ahead.
Entrance to the parsonage.
Joyce, go ahead. Joyce.
All right, go ahead, Joyce, go ahead.
Okay, I'm on a delay in watching you, just so you know that.
Okay. Well, turn your other volume down, Joyce.
Okay. Okay, I have a question as far as site distance. What is considered safe, and what did Mr. Ray measure?
Is this Joyce Pelusis?
Yes.
Hello, Joyce. We were neighbors in Freehold once, a long time ago. 445 feet, Joyce, and we've provided that. That's what the county has required, and we actually exceed the 445 in both directions. Is it delay?
You got that, Joyce?
Okay, good.
You good? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
okay, so for the entrance and the driveway for the parsonage, is there adequate room for an emergency vehicle, fire truck, to be able to get in and up to the house? Because there's no connection between the two driveways or two lots or two parking areas for it to be coming off of Homedale Road on the other entrance.
One of the things that Andy testified to was that we actually changed our driveway grade because the fire department asked us to. So they've reviewed this and approved it, and Andy, yes, they've approved it, and there is access per the fire department,
Okay, great.
separate from the synagogue.
Thank you.
What's the speed limit on Homedale Road?
The speed limit is 40 miles per hour, and going to give you more information than you asked for. One of the things the county asked us for was a speed study, and actually 40 miles an hour is what most traffic is doing.
However, when we do the site distance, we go above.
We look at 45.
Right.
The county makes us look at 5 miles an hour over the posted limit.
When are the peak hours on Homedale Road?
Generally 7 to 10 in the morning, consistent with commuter traffic and the schools, and in the afternoon 2 to 6, depending. Actually, it's more like, if I'm not mistaken, I think the peak hour we recorded was 4:45 to 5:45. So even though the schools may let out a little bit earlier in the afternoon, the commuter traffic is so heavy that it creates the peak in the afternoon.
In terms of their peak times of operation, if we're going north on Homedale Road, have to make a left into the driveway and go across southbound traffic.
Correct.
What is your testimony as to, I'm going to call it the stacking up of cars to make the left-hand turn?
Actually, that left turn will operate at level of service A with very minimal delay, so I can't deny that there will be times when somebody's going to be stopped making a left turn, and through traffic will have to wait for the left turn to take place. That's very common at a lot of county roads. I found it interesting, to give you an example, on Crawford's Corner Road, as you're heading up, Bell Works is on your left. That's a 2 million square foot building, and people make left turns into that driveway all the time.
But importantly, and just so you understand, Mr. Fagan, if the county decides that they're not comfortable with it, they could require us to expand the roadway, they could require us to add a bypass lane, to do all of those things. So that's all what the county's in the midst of reviewing right now. So if we don't meet the county standards based on the traffic and the levels of service and the like, as I'd indicated earlier with regard to the county, they're the ones that have the ability to tell us you have to improve the roadway to make it better.
Yeah, and let me just add, for Wes and the public, we're not here to comment on the traffic itself on the public roads. That's not us. That's someone else, right? So if you're going to have questions about anything, it's really about the access into the property only. Anything about the roads is not relevant at this hearing. So,
Thank you.
all right. Anyone else? All right. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Question. I'm sorry. I keep getting that backwards. Public questions of the traffic engineer. Come on up, sir, and state your name and address again.
Is George Wright, 7 Longview Drive. So with 117 parking spots for 117 cars, a significant portion of trying to understand what the load is going to be the assumption of how that's going to be used. What is going to be the maximum load is going to be coming out during those 7 to 10 in the morning and in the afternoon. What are the numbers you have for the cars coming out of or egressing and ingressing into the parking lot with 117 spots?
Okay, well, it's my understanding that the 117 spaces will only be needed, and probably not all 117, only 100 during the high holidays, which are 4 times in a year? 4? Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so you're talking about 4 times during the course of the year when you'll probably have 100 cars entering and exiting.
But even if it is more than that, or if more people want to come to services, the question was, at the peak, first of all, will the peak ingress and egress ever line up with the peak hours, I think you asked Mr. Wright, of the street?
No, it will not. And what I started to testify to before was I looked at the statement of operations for this particular house of worship, and I also looked at the IT numbers, and because the IT numbers were higher, I'll go through some of those numbers for you. The IT numbers for a synagogue of this size project 24 inbound movements, 15 outbound movements during the morning peak hour, 27 inbound movements, 20 outbound movements during the afternoon peak hour, during the highest flow on Homedale Road. And if those numbers are achieved, which they won't be based on the statement of operations, we still have a C level of service.
So you're saying with 117 spots, typically you're only going to get up to 24 over that 7 to 10 hour time period.
That's correct.
And the only time you'll get the larger number is 4 times a year.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm
Saturday,
sorry,
on Saturdays, during the Saturday services, there will be more traffic.
what will that be?
I think we projected about 60 trips during the Saturday peak hour.
So there'll be 60 cars coming out and going in.
During, actually, it's my understanding, and the rabbi can correct me if I'm wrong, that the current Saturday services are lower than what he's projecting them to possibly be in the future. We've looked at the worst-case scenario, and that would be 60 cars.
But when you say 60 cars, is that over a 1 hour period, or is that over?
Probably not 1 hour, so, spread out.
Spread that over all day?
Not
Or-
all day, maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
So,
And
so that equates to 1 car every 2 minutes. It could
Correct,
be.
correct.
so, yeah, again, the assumption is that that facility will not be used at its max on Saturdays for all the 117 spots.
Now, if I can just clarify a couple things. What we're saying is that in practice, the busiest times of the year are during the high holidays when the most people come out. So we guarantee you that 300 seats will be taken up during the high holidays.
And those are 4 times a year.
That doesn't mean that we're not entitled to fill up any other time of the year. So again, the question is whether or not the driveway is safe. And based on the numbers, even if it was all 300 people, based on when those people would be coming and going, and the traffic and our site distances, it would be safe. Is that your
So-
testimony?
I'll make it yes, it's gonna be safe, it's gonna be efficient, and if I'm wrong, the county is gonna tell me I'm wrong. But,
Okay. Well, I mean,
we've had.
Well, let
not
me
only-
say one thing, just to make it clear. Your calculations, just to make,
Sure.
is based on 100 people parking there every day of every year.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. It's that the calculation based that they can have people parking there full lot every day of every year, all day long if they wanted to. And those calculations are still providing a sea level of service at worst case. So
That-
in
that's
general,
hard.
90%
It's hard
of
to
the
believe. Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, that's what
hard.
the numbers
I live
show.
next door to it.
Yeah.
It's tough getting out right now, let alone 100 cars there.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is what the data shows, right?
And again, I think, Mr. Chair, it's important that the peak hour for the synagogue, when those cars will be coming and going, do not coincide. So while it may be hard to get in and out now during the peak hours, that's not when we're the busiest, when cars are coming and going. I believe that was the testimony.
That was the testimony.
And so in your report, you have all these assumptions written down, right?
Yes.
And I just want to note that they were reviewed by 2 different engineers.
James Shaharlis, 811 Homedale Road. Are we asking the county to change the line structure on Homedale Road?
We're not asking them to, and they haven't asked us to.
So how do we have a safe A-zone left turn heading northbound on Homedale Road? It's
They
a
wait-
double yellow line.
Yeah, you're allowed to make a left turn across the double,
No, you're not.
sir. I've been
Sir.
asked this question.
Sir, I'm a police officer.
You're
You're not
wrong.
allowed to make a turn across a double solid yellow line.
Please don't give anybody a ticket for that, because you're wrong.
No, I'm not. It's actually.
Well,
so
sir,
far-
sir,
No,
look,
I'm
we're not
not.
here to have a debate on it. As I started off by saying.
Let me make it easy.
You-
In the event you can't do that, the county will have us break the yellow line
that's
at
what I'm
that
asking.
location.
That's what I'm asking. Okay.
They can absolutely, you asked if we were proposing
Right,
any
that's what I'm
changes.
asking.
The answer is no.
Okay.
But they can certainly ask us to. Meaning
Okay.
they could ask us to widen it, they could ask us to do a bypass, they could ask us to change the lines, make it dotted, hatch it. They can ask us to do any of that, and they may, and we're not gonna have much of a choice but to do it.
And once
You- you
again,
had made- you had made a
sir,
statement
I
about-
preface this by saying anything to do with the public roads is outside of this hearing here. That's going to be between them and the town, the county.
Well,
Sorry.
we're testifying that it's a 15-second turn into that lot from.
Well, you're talking about restriping the road. We're not talking about the restriping of the roads and the
Well, that's
widening
why
of the
I was
roads.
That's why I
Right.
was asking how they come up with the assumption that it's only going to be a 15-second turn into it from the left lane. If they're not.
Yeah.
if
well,
they're
that's
not
what the
restriping
that's
road.
well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So we're gonna, whatever the county wants us to do, we're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
Let me just say what a double yellow line signifies a no passing
No
zone
pass.
in each direction.
I've asked
That's
them
what it
to
is.
Let it go, so.
I will.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I had to say that.
No, you didn't.
Ann Wright, 7 Longview Drive. I read through all the new documents. I think this might be for you. If not, I'll ask it. There was a mention of a right-of-way. Is that for you?
Either
It
me
said
or
that the
Mr.
application was going to ask for a right. It had to do with the sidewalks and everything, and it said the applicant was going to ask for a right-of-way.
We have to dedicate right-of-way to the county.
What does that mean?
It
Is
means
that on the street?
It's on the plan, and it means we have to give up our property and deed it over to the county.
So it's part of.
What is currently part of our lot and
Yeah.
on our lot line is
Yeah.
now going to be given to the county.
So the road will be.
Not the road, how much of the road the county owns. It's up to the county
Ah.
how wide it owns, but we have to give up ownership of our road because the county told us we have to.
Ownership of your
Oh,
road.
not our road, I'm sorry, ownership of our property along
Okay.
the road, forgive me. I
Okay.
misspoke.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not part of the traffic.
No. This is typical.
I believe almost every property has a right-of-way that the
Yeah,
town
I
owns.
just didn't know
Yeah.
if it was part of the
Very,
traffic.
very briefly, they have a master plan as to how wide the right-of-way needs to be, and if you're not meeting that, then anytime you go before the county, they make you give it to them.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
So Pradeep Janji, 38 Takalusa Drive. So I just want to understand jurisdiction over this county road and entry and exit is really a county decision, nothing to do with
No,
this
so
board.
this,
Correct.
this board has the authority, and they're required to make sure that our access is safe. So our access has to be, sorry. They regulate our access as safe, as well as our circulation on site as safe, as well, meaning fire trucks, garbage trucks, et cetera, as well as our parking. Anything having to do with the county road, if this was on a municipal road, it would all be part of what they do. But because this is on a county road, it's up to the county as to striping, wideness, extra lanes, all of that. That's all the county's jurisdiction.
So the township has no say on, they can't influence the county as to,
No,
that
is,
true?
that's correct.
Wow, okay.
I-
They live on
It's
Hopewell
odd now.
Road, they can't say a word.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Oh, I guess the only thing I would like to add is, or suggest is, oh, sorry, close the public questions then. When you exit, I noticed that you only have one lane exiting.
Yes.
Did you ever think about having 2 lanes, a left turn and a right lane? Because I just feel that'll back things up and people start rushing out, and it's like what happens at the schools and everything else.
I understand. We thought about it, and there's a benefit and a negative to doing the double. Sometimes if you do a simple left and right turn lane coming out, one car will block the other car's sight distance, and you can.
Yeah.
I prefer for a case like this with the size of the parking lot, a single exit lane is the best. If it was a large shopping center or something of that nature that had several hundred parking spaces, I might recommend a separate left and right turn lane, but not in this situation.
A question, during the holidays, would it ever be something where you guys would hire the town police to, we talked about-
100%.
yeah, okay.
I believe they currently do that, and obviously, with many of our members coming to pray, or members of this community, their safety is important to us as
Yeah.
well. So most of the synagogues throughout, at least Monmouth County, do just that on the high holidays.
Right, okay. I just figured people should know that because that might alleviate some of their concerns. There'll be someone there directing traffic as well. What's that? Yeah, stop, yeah. Okay. At this
you.
time, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, you have one more
We do.
witness?
We have our architect. Andy.
Okay, that's right, in the beginning. All right. Yeah.
Hi, good
All right.
evening. You're on my-
Just have her spell her full name for the record.
Her name is easy. There's 3 letters in her last name. Yeah, that's true. It's not a lot of 3 letters.
Okay, great. That's this one. I'll just take one back for myself. Yeah, let's picture. And here's exterior renderings too.
you could spell your name first and last, and put your qualifications on the record that would qualify you as an expert in architecture.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Melissa Rubb, last name R-U-B. I'm a graduate of the City College of New York School of Architecture, and I'm licensed in the state of New Jersey. I currently serve as a project manager for BF Design out of Lakewood, New Jersey. I have actually not had the privilege of appearing before your board, but I have appeared before many boards and municipalities throughout the state of New Jersey.
We'd submit her as an expert, Mr. Chair, unless there are any questions.
Sure, yes.
Okay, and her nickname is Malky, and that's how I know her, so I'm gonna
Sure.
refer to her as Malky instead of Melissa. So, Malky, having been the project manager designing this house of worship as well as the parsonage, starting with the color rendered elevation that we submitted, I think, in March, and it's up on the screen now. Could you walk the board through what we're proposing by way of the synagogue?
Absolutely. So the elevation before you, again, is the house of worship from Homedale Road, meaning the front or east elevation, which is a contemporary design we feel suitable for a house of worship. The central entrance, I'm just going to grab the mouse, that's right over here, is defined by this stone-clad facade with the curved parapet at the top, some clear story windows above the double glass doors. To the left of the entry is that's the front of the main sanctuary. The two wings feature two recessed bays framed with stone and gray brick infill. The vertical bronze panels break up the glazing and add some rhythm to the facade. And there's a herringbone textured panel in the center to introduce some warmth and material contrast.
Let me go to the floor plan.
Sure. You want me to? These are not the latest. I don't know if these are the latest either. No, these are not the latest either. There's a no, you can see in the front of it. In the folder, there's an architecture.
Those have to be marked out.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, so these are the most recently submitted plans. Why don't you walk the board through the floor plan?
Absolutely. So the building is a single-story building at 15,053 square feet. The building is not square, but it's approximately 160 feet wide and 118 feet deep, and stands at 21 feet 10 inches tall to the top of the main roof, with an additional 5-foot parapet above that. The building's main entrance is located centrally, as described before, leading to a vestibule and then into a main lobby. To the left is a 2,297 main sanctuary and a 2,498 square foot social hall separated by a movable partition. The main sanctuary will be set up with movable pews, while the social hall will have tables and chairs for overflow. So we previously spoke about the kitchen facilities, which are in the rear of the next to the social hall. And again, per my conversations with the rabbi and his wife, there is no cooking intended in this facility, no industrial cooking or catering. Rather, if an event is being held, it's for warming up outside catered food in this location, and therefore it is aptly renamed a warming kitchen. To the right and rear of the lobby are the lounge, library, and administrative offices, and other ancillary spaces like a coat room, restroom, storage. And to the far right, or the north side of the building, we have a separate entry for the Hebrew school wing, which features 4 classrooms.
You went over the elevations, now going to the parsonage. Let me go to the rendering first.
Thank you. So the 2.5-story home has a white exterior with black frame windows and a dark roof. The front elevation includes a covered porch on the right, a center main entry, and a 2-car garage on the left with stone detailing at the base. The design is symmetrical, clean, and provides large windows for natural light throughout the home.
And we had indicated that there is 7 bedrooms now in the structure.
That is correct.
And there was a question in the review letter with regard to egress in the attic and basement. And without going into great detail into the building code, we comply with the egress requirements for both of those.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any questions for the architect as it relates to architecture?
Floor plans?
Oh, I'm sorry. We do.
Back on the same set.
Yep.
So here we have the basement and first floor plan.
Let me blow it up a little bit.
Sure. So the first floor is approximately 2,751 square feet and has a traditional foyer, combined living room, dining room, eating kitchen, family room, and study. There's also a 2-car garage, mudroom, and powder room near the side entry. Should we do upstairs first? I mean, next. Great. There we go. The second floor is approximately 2,378 square feet and includes a primary suite, 4 additional bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a laundry room. Thank you. The attic has the last bedroom and a play area. And if we go back a sheet, I apologize, to the basement. Thank you. The basement has a playroom, 2 additional bedrooms, a library, home office, and music room.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh. I was all settled in. Okay, anyone have any?
Oh, wait,
Oh.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh, street renderings.
The most important thing.
Absolutely.
So the board asked us, well, what is this going to look like from the street? So the architect worked with our engineer, as well as a site renderer, and using photographs taken from the street, prepared a computer-generated rendering with regard to what the view is. So as we walk through these pages, if you could just describe to the board what we're looking at from Homedale Road.
Absolutely. So this is image number 1, and it's taken from the center of the property, standing on Homedale Road, looking directly at the house of worship. Image number 2 is taken from the main access driveway. You can see that on the lower right-hand corner toward the house of worship. This is image number 3. It's a similar view a little further down Homedale Road toward the north.
Okay, and this is accurately reflecting the proposed landscaping.
That is correct.
That is on, as well as the grading.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is, again, the ingress and egress road from the southern side of, more southern, along Homedale Road, but again, the same view. The house of worship would be to the left.
And right
Yeah.
here you can see the sign.
That's the monument sign, right. This is further south on Homedale Road.
So almost nearing the parsonage, and you can see the parsonage a little bit here.
Peeking out. Yep, that's
Okay.
right.
And again, just for the board's edification, this was done before the parsonage was lowered in height.
Correct.
With the grade 5 feet.
That's correct.
So the parsonage is actually shown here to scale 5 feet higher than it's going to be.
That is right.
Okay.
And last image is looking at the parsonage driveway on the left-hand side, up the drive. Yeah.
And again, this was when it was a steeper slope driveway, as was testified to by Andy.
Right.
That was actually lowered in grade by about 5 feet.
That's right.
Now I'm done, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Those 2 parking spaces on the right, those have now been taken out?
That's correct.
Yeah.
These were not.
I am listening.
Yes, you are very well, actually, Mr. Ahmed. These were not updated since the previous submission.
Anyone else on the board have any questions of the architect?
Yes. On this rendering, I think you showed it as number 4, showing the driveway straight on. In looking at the steep slopes, there were steep slopes at the front of the property, and I wondered how you were going to address that. Looking at the property, it looks like from Homedale Road it drops off significantly.
Mr. Fagan, I would have to recall Andy to answer that question. The architect purely designed the buildings, and using the site plan, had the renderings prepared. She can't answer any questions relative to steep slopes or to the grade. Okay, Bob, maybe finish with this witness before we get him up.
Sure. Anyone else? We good? Okay, Kate. I'm
yes.
sorry, I didn't ask Craig and
okay.
Kate yet.
That's okay. Can you please put up image 2 of the street side renderings? My question is really just in reference to the cladding on the non-Homedale Road facing sides.
Sure.
And you can you can see it in the elevations as well, but I just bring this up because I think, what you're proposing for the main, the nice cladding on the front to wrap around a little bit on the sides, but for the most part it's proposed to just be EFIS panels. And so what color is it going to be, like a similar like stone color that's proposed
Yes,
to the front?
that's correct.
Okay, because the views that you show don't really depict that. And I will say, this, I obviously understand that this is something that's done a lot of the time because of cost concerns. It's expensive to clad the whole structure, especially when you're proposing, buffers and setbacks. But I would just, if you could just kind of explain, the structure. If you're looking at the D, elevation D, so that's the one on the bottom here, that would be the one that faces north.
Right.
So that would face the entrance driveway.
That would face the entrance driveway. So how many, we can look at the site plan on this. It's a pretty substantial distance from the side yard setback. And I guess I would just, my question would just be, I think that we've established that, you meet all the buffering requirements. Do you think if you were able to see this through, from a residential property line, something like that, say it's, the times when if it's the middle of winter and the new evergreens are there, is this going to have the appearance of something kind of like a blank wall, or is this going to be kind of blend in, do you think, in your opinion?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I do think that in effort to how do I say this? An effort to respect the neighbor, I do think that the toned down elevation is appropriate. I don't think it gives a blank wall appearance. There are a few glazing punctures throughout. On the left hand side is an entrance canopy.
That was going to be one of my other questions.
Sure.
Is that dark, that what's shown as a dark aluminum, that's a canopy, so it kind of adds a little texture.
That's right.
And these are all vertical panels, correct?
Right. They're
That breaks up the wall.
absolutely, and we can look at adding two-tone or varied colors into the EFIS as well.
I mean, it's less about that. I don't want you to just add decor just for the sake of decor. It's more, and again, it's something like a lot of, at the same time, you don't want those kind of big picture windows necessarily on that side, both for privacy and also for light coming out at night. But it's more, just making sure that what they're going to see is not going to just look like the back of a shopping center.
No,
or
it
something like
was it was definitely thoughtful on all
Absolutely.
four sides.
Yeah.
Correct. And when Andy gets up to answer the question from Mr. Fagan with regard to the slope in the rendering, he can just put on the record what the distance is
Okay.
and what the topography changes.
Right, that was going to be my other question, because I
Right.
know there's also going to be a basin in that area, which can impact topography from what's there today. So it won't be the same as if you just looked out now, and that's in addition to all the landscaping. So okay, I just wanted to get some testimony on the record for that.
Sure. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have one more. Malky?
Hi.
When we went from 11 bedrooms to 7 bedrooms, did the square footage of the home change?
Thank you for that question. So the square footage did not change. We had extensive conversations with the rabbi and his wife about, how the space was allocated in the previous submission and how we felt it would be better allocated to suit the family's needs in this iteration. And again, we, more quiet space, breaking up the family's living space and things like that were the considerations when we reallocated bedroom to more living area.
And the difference between a bedroom and a living area from an architectural perspective, one, there's no closet.
Right.
Are there any other changes as it relates to that?
And some of the shapes of the rooms and sizes of the rooms have been changed, minimized, things like that. But the overall square footage of the home has not changed since the last submission.
But the layout of the rooms has changed, meaning the square footage of the rooms have
Yes.
changed.
Yes.
And the configuration.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes,
Just
good.
have one quick question. On the renderings, the landscaping, just to clarify, is that mature or as planted?
I can even guess, it's probably mature.
Okay.
Imagine it's not as planted.
Yes.
Right, and those are all, am I using the word deciduous or fir? Like, the leaves come down in the winter, or?
The ones in the front that are color, yes, but the ones in the back that are conical in shape, and it's on the landscape plan as to what's deciduous versus evergreen.
Usually it's a mix of the two.
Yeah.
Those are the evergreens that are closer.
Right.
Again, we're not looking to hide the building. We're making a beautiful building. We want you to be able to see the building from the road.
That's also not a question for this witness, but that's often related to sight lines and visibility as well. You can't have a thick row of evergreens right along Homedale Road. I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay. Anyone else on the board before I open it to the public? No? At this time, anyone from the public want to ask a question of this witness? Please stand and be recognized. Going once, twice. Go ahead. We got one.
Sean Bonney again, 5 Longview Drive.
Hi, good evening.
Could you talk a little bit about the security lighting that you have planned, the 4 lights? What type of structure?
I think that was the civil guy, the engine. Yeah, in
And
front.
we did close the civil and
Yeah.
we'll bring it back up for the one questions for Mr. Fagan.
Yeah.
What about uplighting and other exterior lighting you have planned? Are there uplights illuminating the side of the? Just thinking about quality of life and visibility at night for surrounding property.
Sure. So there are some architectural lighting features that are proposed. No uplights. There are some integrated lighting in the recessed areas of the building. If you want to pull up the front and elevation, I could walk you through those. Nothing that would cast light outward toward the building and much more onto the building. So in that chevron wood area between the 2 bay windows, there is a recessed light fixture that's, again, shining inward toward each other, so it wouldn't cast light out. And then on those pilasters on the right-hand side, those vertical elements also have a recessed LED strip light proposed at this time.
What about on the sides of the property or the rear?
I can look at the civil lighting plan. Do you have building mounted lighting? No. No. Okay. There's no building mounted lighting on the side of the plan.
But in the event that it's required for security reasons.
Right.
I'm sorry, Irina. Never want to upset Irina. In the event it's required for security reasons, it would meet all of the code requirements with house shield on the side. It wouldn't be allowed to extend over the property line, all of that. That's all regulated by the ordinance.
And would those types of lightings, can they be on timers as well?
Sure. Like
Are
we
they
said, we're going to agree to the security lighting and overnight lighting. It's going to be subject to the planner and the engineer, so yes.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public? No? Okay, at this time, I'm closing out public questions. If you want to bring up
Yeah, just have
the other
Andy
witness?
come up and answer Mr. Fagan.
Yeah. Thank you, Malky.
I can repeat.
And which drawing did you want to look at?
I called it number 4, this one, looking at the driveway straight on.
That
Right, right. So, in looking at the property now, from Homedale Road, and what you've shown as steep slopes, it appeared to be steep slopes, and it appeared that there was a significant drop-off from Homedale Road down. Whereas this rendering looks like it's a completely level area. So, what are we talking about here, Phil?
Sure. I think better would be if I pull up the rendered site plan. We can kind of show you. So there is a guide rail along Homedale Road, and it starts to drop off. It gets steeper as you move south, and that's the area where we're basically not touching or not regrading. Where we're proposing the driveway is a little flatter, as a couple of foot drop. We've regraded that. We are still dropping from Homedale Road down into the site, but at a relatively flat slope. Our detention basin is also to the south of that. So there's been some regrading done in that area, but again, it's not.
The view he was looking at, which is right here.
Right.
In that area, we had to level it out for the driveway.
Somewhat, but only a few feet. This is not the steep part of the property. That's as you move south. There's a little bit more of a drop off down into the existing site.
So your testimony is that the end result is going to look like this?
It's relatively accurate, yes. I
Thank
did have some coordination with the renderer. They have our grading plan as well, which was incorporated into a 3D model to generate that exhibit.
Thank you.
I have one question. I don't know if it's in regards to lighting on that. Can you go back to that same rendering that Wes was referring to? The height of the light pole. Yeah, right there. The height of the light poles. Is that mandated on how high they have to be, or would it add any benefit if those stanchion lights were lower?
We lower them. Well, I don't think we need it. And I know it doesn't matter if we need a variance or not. I think they comply with your ordinance, but if we lower them, we need more of them.
More of them.
Correct. And is that correct? That the
Generally, yes. If we lowered the height, we would need more. They wouldn't cast as much light individually. I believe these are 20 feet high. Is the light pole height or surrounding the parking areas and drive aisles.
What is our professional's position on the number and the height of the lights?
I agree with Andy. As long as it meets the ordinance requirements, if you had to, each light has a certain throw of light, so if you lower it, that throw is going to be smaller, so you would need to have more lights to have the same coverage and meet the ordinance requirements for lighting.
So you're comfortable with as it is?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Done? We're good? Okay.
Sorry, just one more thing to that. Ron, I would also note, 20 feet, the standard in the ordinance is 20 feet or the height of the principal building, whichever is less. So the principal building is proposed to be about 22 feet in height, so the 20-foot lighting does comply here.
That's right. Okay, now that we're finished, we're opening the public comment section. If you want to make a comment, you can come up, give your name, address, you'll be sworn in. I just ask that you please limit your comments to 2 minutes or less because it is late. So whoever would like to come up and make a comment, please do so. Sure. We have to swear you in. Yes.
You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give?
Yeah.
Okay. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I know you did it before, so state your name and address.
Sure. Sean Dickert. Dickert is unfortunately spelled Dickert. First name Sean, S-E-A-N. And
Oh,
I'm
I
at
got that wrong. Twice now.
And I'm at 810 Homedale Road. A question about, I think it's the retention basin. On
No
the,
questions at this point. Comments.
You can comment on it. But
Yeah,
you
you
can
can
ask
ma-
after the hearing.
yeah.
We'll give you whatever answer you
Oh,
need.
okay. Oh, I just want to know if there was going to be like standing water. Okay. Talk about it after.
Yeah.
The-
I'm sorry, we're just trying to keep things moving a little bit procedurally, so.
That was testified to at a prior hearing,
yeah,
correct?
It was, Sean, but the engineer will be.
Ma'am, just raise your hand.
Oh. Swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth.
It is.
Can
Thank
you
you.
please state
Hi.
your name and address?
My name is Sherry Tarab. I live at 19 Wilshire Way. I want to commend every single one of you on this board. I know this has been a very long and tedious process, and I know you go through long and tedious processes with all of these types of situations, but this one is very near and dear to my heart, and really, you are, I bless every single one of you. I have been living in Homedale for 30 years, and I have not been able to practice my faith in Homedale. I have to leave my home, I have to leave my town, I have to leave my community to go to a synagogue somewhere else. And this is a godsend, and it's not just for me, it's for the entire Jewish community of Homedale, and there are many of us. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what this will do for me, my family, and our community. Thank you.
The speaker is going to be hard to follow.
You have to.
Please swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth.
I did.
State your name for the record, please.
Alex Schlifko, 119 Woodley Court, Wesley Homedale. First, I want to thank the board for being here. Just like my predecessor, it's late and you're all here just to make this project go. So we greatly appreciate that. I'm here to support the project. I think the project is going to be a godsend to Homedale, to my family specifically, to everybody in general. I think it's going to be a great place of gathering. We appreciate the opportunity, and I urge you to approve the project. Thank you.
Come on up, sir. Just raise your hand.
Please swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
I know you said it twice. State your name again.
George Wright, 7 Longview Drive. I think this is an inappropriate place to put this facility. 15,000 square feet of building, 5,000 square feet of house, squeezed in, and we're changing things even at the last minute for being able to use a septic, being able to do different things with the size of bedrooms or the number of bedrooms so that we can squeeze a septic in. It just is a very significant change to that portion of Homedale. Will have a significant impact to 7 Longview Drive and the people on Longview Drive. And I think it was a better place to play before it, squeezing it into this small spot. And I realize it's a awkward spot that people were unable to build into before, but I think it's an inappropriate use, and I ask you to reject the proposal.
You sure, absolutely. Just remember you're still sworn, right? Okay. No.
I know you now. It's Sean Dicker.
It is. You do. I guess just as a new, I can't even say member of the community yet because we haven't been here, or, we haven't even moved in yet. In some sense, it feels like it doesn't fit with what when we were searching for a property and landed on where we did, and we searched for a house for more than a year. It's a tough market. It doesn't feel as if it fits. If you drive up and down the road, it's very wide open residences. That being said, in the event that this is inevitable, and it's if anything's going to be next to you, a house of worship is the best thing, relative to like a Target or something. My hope then, I guess, is that the people who attend and the rabbi and his family who I hope to meet soon, it's just kind of like builds a sense of community and a sense of involvement, even maybe with the people who don't go or don't have plans to go or don't belong to, I don't know, what congregation, people, group. So yeah, I guess concurring with the last gentleman, but also saying, you know, kind of hoping for the best here, I guess.
Anyone else? No. Yeah. Yeah, so I just want to close the public. All right, so this time, public comments are officially closed on the issue. Ron, you want to say something?
I have a question for Kate. In regards to the gentleman's testimony about the size and scope of this project on this particular parcel, I too have some reservations, though I'm all for House of Worship, obviously. I too have some reservations about the size and scope as it pertains to the master plan. Could you just speak to the fact that the size and scope of this particular application is in the scope of Homedale's master plan, or would it be better suited in a commercial corridor like Route 35?
Sure. So I will start by saying, as we've said several times throughout this hearing, this is a permitted conditional use in the R40B
Totally understood.
zone. Yep.
I get that.
And so, you know, just to go through this, houses of worship are permitted in most, if not all, of Homedale's residential zones. And there is a separate section of the ordinance, the conditional use standards, that provides for the standards that apply to them. And that includes what we've talked about, you know, minimum acreage. And I just don't want to misstate anything. So let me just get this in front of me real quick. Please hold. So that said, is that, you know, when the governing body made the conditional use standards for a house of worship, they did that knowing that it was permitted in all of the zones in which it is, and that includes the R40B zone. The R40B zone, as we are aware, is Homedale's largest residential lot size. And, you know, in a lot of ways that makes sense because the house of worship, these modern houses of worship often, you know, they have to have parking, they have to have different facilities on site, they often have a parsonage. So, you know, that was all part of the governing body decision to allow it in this zone. And when you talk about, like, for example, the minimum lot sizes for a church or house of worship, we have 4 acres. That is something that you're not going to find really. Yes, you do in Homedale, but not. It's not as common as it used to be. And so, in terms of the size of this site, this is really, you know, something. It's larger than 4 acres, but it meets that standard. And, you know, when the township committee adopted these ordinances, they were. This was a while ago. This was before my time. But the procedure is that it always goes before the planning board for a master plan consistency review. So, you know, I think in general, the applicant here, they're here at this planning board. They're not at the zoning board getting a D3 variance because they meet all of the conditions that have been placed on a house of worship, not just in the R40B zone, but throughout the township. And so, you know, they don't have to show that this site is suitable because the township committee has done it for them. And I think that, you know, beyond just things like that, they also have to comply with general standards of the ordinance, and that includes things like the buffer percentage, which they have provided where that's needed. And so, you know, this is a matter of an applicant that's a permitted use, and it's, you know, they are in the zone where it is specifically permitted and has been for some time, and they meet every single one of the conditions.
Can I ask Kate a question based on that testimony?
Sure.
Kate, and following up on Mr. Emma, and I think it's important to point out, we've beat to death that it's a permitted use, so we all know that.
Yep.
But when you're talking about size and scope from a planning perspective, the metrics for whether the size and scope is appropriate have to do with setbacks and building coverage, right?
Among other things,
Right,
yes.
but those are some of the key ones. And in this case, we exceed all of the setbacks, and we're under the building coverage permitted. And most importantly, I think what drives whether or not we are squeezing something in or not, aside from setbacks and coverages, can we park it? And we not only can park it according to your ordinance, but we're providing 17% more. So well, I understand it's a large structure, we're not on a 4-acre lot. We're on a almost 10-acre lot. So the scale of the structure is very appropriate in the context of the zoning ordinance, but as well as what was contemplated in the master plan. We're more than double the size of what the master plan contemplated for a house of worship. So I understand your reservation because it's different. And I just want to point out, and I'll certainly say to my closing, this is not an interior residential road. This is a county road where the municipal complex sits, where across the street is a non-residential use. So this is not in the middle of it. If we were proposing this in the middle of Longview, for example, it might have a different impact, but this is a very busy county road in an area where there's a mix of uses as shown by that. So I think in context, that's also why it's not only appropriate under the master plan and the ordinance, but in the context of where it is.
That was very close to what I was going to end up with. Because yes, one of the ways that the scope is governed here is through the maximum lot coverage. It's 28%. And that includes not just the building, but that includes all of the parking, that includes all of the pathways, includes everything related to the parsonage, and they are well under that. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
No, public comments are closed. Okay, so I guess at this time she can write close. Do her closing.
So you're all finished, right? So we'll close the hearing. And,
All right. But she wants to summarize.
If you're going to wait to vote.
She also come back?
At that time.
Oh. Okay, so I think, do I have to make the motion, right?
Just make a motion to carry it. That's the intent. They need consent to carry it.
Yeah.
So just so the council's aware that it's late in the night. It's late in the night, so the board is.
Yes, sure, Joyce.
Hi, Marty. I want to ask a question. At the very first meeting, I had concerns about Homedale Road being a very, very
Joyce, you gotta turn off that, the other volume or whatever, the sound.
My concerns are that there'll be no walkers. Is there anything that we can put in the resolution if we approve this about, because there are no sidewalks?
I don't know how you would do that.
Yeah, I mean, people are allowed to walk on the side of the road, Joyce, so I can stop that.
I'm on such a delay.
Well, turn it off. So I can talk to you. It's like I can hear the echo. But I'm saying I don't know how you could stop people from walking down the street, whether they're going to the Chabad or they're going to their friend's house. What's that?
I would just make your comment if we're going to seek to carry it.
Yeah. All right, so I think we're, at this time, because it's late, we want to propose to carry the actual vote to the next meeting. Right? Is that what we talked about? Yeah, unless no one agrees here, if someone wants to make a motion. Yeah, well,
They would have to agree.
yeah.
I
I think we're at the end of our.
Yeah, so I'm at the end. Obviously, I think that we'd prefer to have the vote tonight, but again, if the board wants time to contemplate and look at the exhibits, I would just ask that if you do carry it, I have the opportunity to give my closing arguments freshly before the vote, as opposed to now and have you try and remember them.
Absolutely. That's not a
Okay,
problem.
so I would just ask then, when is the next date? And just to be clear, Mr. Chair, the public portion is closed. The public will not have the opportunity to
correct.
speak at the next meeting.
That's correct. That's canceled, the 15th. We did the 5th, right?
August 5th, we have an applicant. It's only going to be 15 minutes, so we could put you guys on first.
Yeah, I don't even think my part's gonna be much less than that. That would be fine. We would consent to carry to August 5th without the need for further notice, for the vote only.
Right. Okay.
I make a motion to carry it to August 5th.
I'll second.
Without further notice.
without further notice.
Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Ackerson,
Yes.
Mr. Fagan,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Emma,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Plausas,
She'll tell us in 10 minutes.
carries anyway. And Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yes, she said yes. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, please.
Okay. Meeting's over. Thank you, everyone.
Second, Mr. Eckers. Thank you. Have a good night.